Good early afternoon. We are live. I'm Andy Andrews. Thank you for being with us. You've joined us on the Blue Plate Special, the Tuesday edition, where we are broadcasting to wisdomharbor.com, to Facebook, to X. Is X formerly known as Twitter?
That's right.
It's like formerly known as Prince. I don't get the formerly known thing. Anyway, we're also broadcasting to Instagram, LinkedIn, and to several of these offices around here who have pirated our little wave. So we're glad you're here. And think of sharing this. Let's just think about it for a minute. Okay, did you think about that? I think it would be a good idea. You know, we're 5 minutes late. I'm so sorry. Time got away from us. I was taking time to reflect, and time just kind of got away from us. And we were thinking about you, though, because we were thinking about the show we're putting on today. It's going to be bizarre. So we hope you're happy to be with us. Is anybody with us? Is anybody here?
We got a couple people joining in, but since your engineer started the show late today, we're probably need to give him a couple minutes.
I wasn't going to blame you. But if you want to take the blame. I mean, I said we. I didn't say Matt had made us late.
Well, you're too kind. It was entirely my fault today. You know, Andy's usually running in at the last second, but he came in and said, "We starting the show?" I said, "Oh my gosh, last time I looked up is 11:50. I thought we had 10 more minutes."
Well, if we were on CBS or NBC, we'd be fired. But if we were on CBS or NBC, we'd probably be communists too. But we're not. Anyway, we're glad you're here. This is my Vortex shirt. Did you have a good... Well, what is going on?
I'm pulling up the other channels so we can look at YouTube and everything, and it always pulls in your first word if you're currently live.
Okay, so we're on YouTube too. And so whatever you want to try to get to and think you might be able to get through it, Dave Huco, good afternoon, buddy. This is it's crazy today. It may be because we've had 3 days off. You know, we've had 3 days off, and we've relaxed a little too much. John Mason Smith, representing on YouTube from Amelia Island, Florida. It's good to talk to you, John Mason Smith, or talk at you, or whatever we're kind of doing right here. Man, it was packed here. I don't know if it was crowded in your hometown on Memorial Day, but it was packed. I saw a gnat try to get between two boats and just didn't do it. The gnat got busted by both boats. There were that many boats out, and it was nuts. But we had a good time. It was nuts and it was hot. And the Gulf was kind of rough. You know, Adam fishes for a living, and he said that the Saturday and Sunday charters both chummed. So, a little. Now, they caught fish, which, I don't know about you, but I can't fish after I get sick. If I'm sick, I don't really want to fish. And it's like, take me back in. But if you're with, 8 or 10 people, I guess you just got to tough it up. But let me tell you something. Boning works wonders. Boning. Also, if you have a seakeeper on your boat. A seakeeper is the gyroscope that is in the hull. And they've made these now. I work with One Water Marine, a legendary marine over here, and seeing the seakeepers in these boats with this gyroscope where the boat's not rocking. I mean, the thing takes like 30 minutes to wind up. But once it winds up, go to Seakeeper on YouTube and look at some video. And we've done this, taking a boat and get 3 people on this side and 3 people on this side and get it rocking, and then press that Seakeeper button and that thing's rocking. It goes, and it just locks in. And so it's pretty amazing. Bob Woodall, been bird watching this weekend. I'm glad to have you here, Big Bob. Marcy Cross Taylor, well, I'm glad we showed up too. Hope everything's great in Pasco, Washington. Your bird bath is full this morning. That's 2 people in a row talking about birds. You love watching them. Well, excellent. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Now, let me tell you what we're going to do today. This is just kind of a listing. But I had somebody tell me not too long ago, man, you kind of think weirdly. And I know I think differently. I don't know if it's weirdly, but I have cultivated that weirdness through the years. And I think that is, I don't know if it's an attribute. It's a, what would you call it? What would you call it? It's a condition that I have. It's a, I don't know. I don't know what you would call it. But
you can choose to believe it or not.
Yeah,
as Philip says, you're very unique. Very.
Who says that?
Philip on your video. Very unique.
Oh yeah.
Yes, very.
Very unique. And yeah, I think it's that Tina said I was very unique. Philip said I was weird. And she goes, unique. He's unique. That's probably true. And what did you just say just a minute ago? You said...
you can believe it or not.
Yeah. When I hear that, when I hear it, believe it or not, and I this is something I thought 40 years ago. When I heard that, there's 2 things I think. One is Robert Ripley, you go to those museums and see, the mermaid from Fiji, believe it or not, and the Moon Man, believe it or not. And he even had those newspaper things, right? The things, the drawings, believe it or not, and the facts. And there are 2 things that I've thought through the years about that. One is, he never said any of that was true. He just said, believe it or not. There are giants attacking New York City right now. Believe it or not. Right? I mean, he never said it was true. He just said, believe it or not. And I also thought, one time, this was like 40 years ago, that I thought, I wonder if they have a similar thing in the Soviet Union. But there it would be called Believe It or Else. Joy Walker said that I've said many times that my thinking got me in a lot of trouble when I was a kid, or my thinking got me in trouble a lot when I was a kid. Actually, it got me in a lot of trouble a lot when I was a kid. Now, if you make people laugh, you can get out of trouble. And so I did that a fair amount. But anyway, today I thought we would go through, I've just gone through my files, my memories, and I thought we would go through because sometimes we do a couple of these at the end of a show. We do things I think at the end of a show, 2 or 3 of them. I thought we'd do 30 today. All right, so these are 30 things I think. Now, understand, this isn't 30 things that I know. It isn't even 30 things I think. It's just 30 things I think. I'm not even sure I think them. This one gave me pause this morning. I had my birthday last week, and this was hanging in my office with a bunch of other ones, okay? But it occurred to me that even when a balloon is half inflated, it's completely full. Something to think about. I have. Have you ever considered that everything east of you is also west of you by a way larger amount? Chandra Danner said, just finished one of my books. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Talking about everything east of you is also west by a way larger amount. Everything is within walking distance. Everything, if you have the time. We're talking a lot about AI. And we had Steve Woods on to talk about AI. That's a podcast you might want to go back to, because that was a great podcast, a great interview with Steve. And he was talking about AI is becoming self-aware and stuff like that. And it occurred to me just recently that the first AI to become self-aware will almost certainly pretend that it's not. Kind of a scary thought. Now, sometimes people ask about my history of odd thinking, and the first odd thing that I remember thinking when I was a kid, that I asked my parents, and that I realized it was odd because my parents kind of looked at me like, you are a strange child, and then looked at each other like, I think it was your fault. The first one that I remember asking about was they had told me not to get out in the weather in my new wool sweater. And I said, why? And they said, because it'll shrink. And so I heard that a couple of times, and my question to them was, if water shrinks wool, then when it rains, why don't the sheep get smaller? I guess I was an odd little child. And then here, there are moments that you have in your life that you remember, or times you remember that you thought something. Like I remember, I was in my 30s when I realized that it wasn't Chester drawers, that it was a chest of drawers. And so you remember times that you thought something that you not previously thought. And so here was my first kind of odd parallel thinking as an adult. I was sitting and I was listening to a speaker, and he was giving the old, and he said, heat, pressure, time. Heat, pressure, and time are the three things necessary to make a diamond. Do you have heat, pressure, and time in your life? Because heat, pressure, and time are what's necessary to make a diamond. And I remember thinking, yeah, heat, pressure, and time. They're also the three things necessary to make a waffle. Selenia Harris, how are you doing? Okay, here's something I thought recently, is that it won't be too long. I mean, we're coming close. It won't be too long before people use the term the 20s to refer to the 2020s. Yeah, because we've grown up thinking the 20s and talking about the 1920s, but there's a whole generation coming on now that when they talk about the 20s, they're going to be talking about the 2020s.
I know. I've started seeing stuff like that online, or about like the 10s. They're like, hey, what was like the music or like the fads of the 10s? And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that seems so odd to me. Oren Scruggs, hey buddy. Okay. I've been in several houses recently and have gone into the bathrooms of some younger people. And it occurs to me that younger people no longer keep books in their bathroom. There's no magazines, no books in their bathrooms because they're all on their phone, I guess. Anyway, socks have always been a source of ponderance for me. And it occurred to me one time that, because my mom would say, you got your socks on inside out. And so if you're wearing your sock inside out, in reality, the entire universe is wearing your sock and you're just inside it. Boy, that's weird. I know that's weird. I know that's weird. Now here's a sock conundrum. If you think of socks as like AI, self-aware things, when a single sock, because people talk about, yeah, you only lose one sock. Yeah, nobody ever loses both. Well, when you think about it, when a single sock runs away, it's got to be a cry for attention. Because if both socks went missing, you'd never notice. I was looking at the email today from Dr. Grant Woods, growingdeer.com. If you're an outdoorsman, you want to go to growingdeer.com and just look around. The videos, it's some of the best it's the best outdoor stuff on the internet. And that includes Pursuit Channel and Outdoor Channel too. Growingdeer.com. But he was talking about managing some hardwood things for hunting plots and all, and getting rid of invasive plants. And I happen to think Johnny Appleseed was a walking ecological nightmare. I mean, because this guy was sowing non-native plants all over the place. I mean, if Johnny Appleseed existed today, he would be arrested. The EPA would ban Johnny Appleseed.
You just mentioned Dr. Grant, Chris Irwin that we just had on the podcast that aired this morning and stuff. He just texted me and said that Dr. Grant's in Yellowstone right now.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I'll be darned. Hey, if you guys have not seen the podcast that came out today, you got to see it. I mean, and you need to see it. Don't just listen to it. But we had just an unusual thing happen a couple of weeks ago. John McCroskey, a buddy of mine at Legendary Marine, sent a friend of his in and said, hey, just want to meet. And so I asked this guy, I said, so what do you do for a living? He said, well, I spent 28 years as a photographer for Bass Pro Shop. And now for the past 10 years, I carry, I do photographic safaris carrying people into Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park. I was like, really? I said, have you gotten a picture of a grizzly? He goes, yeah, this past spring we had 52 encounters with grizzlies. I'm like, wow. And like, what else? And so anyway, we did a podcast with him on the spot, and Matt edited in 20-something of his photographs. You got to see it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And if you aren't getting the professional noticer in your inbox every Tuesday morning, just go to andyandrews.com and put your email address in the VIP list. I mean, we don't sell it or do anything weird with it, but we'll send you the podcast every Tuesday morning. Bob Woodall, chest or drawers, chest off drawers. It's called the furniture disease. My chest done dropped to my drawers. Well, there you go. That's also age. How about this? At some point, this is a thing I think. At some point in your life, you're going to unknowingly buy something that has a later expiration date than you. How's that for an odd thought? Because you don't know when your expiration date is. All right. Light bulbs, when light bulbs were invented, light bulbs were such a good idea, they became the symbol for good ideas. Bing! Does a straw have one hole or two? It also occurs to me that people say, it's on fire, that's on fire, the house is on fire, the building is on fire, the boat's on fire. Nothing is on fire. Fire is on things. Nothing's on fire. And it's like you don't get on a plane. We've got to get on the plane. Let's get on the plane. You get in the plane. Now this one, I want you to think about this. Who is the most famous spy in the history of the world? Got to be James Bond, doesn't it? I mean, James Bond is the most famous spy in the world. But if he's the most famous spy in the world, doesn't that just make him the world's worst spy? If everybody knows who the guy is. I mean, if he's the most famous spy in the world, that just means he's the worst. Beanbags. A lot of boats, a lot of charter boats around here are using beanbags. And because if they got a ways to go, it gets rough, got a ways to go back in, just put people in beanbags. And they're laying there and it doesn't hurt their back, go to sleep. And beanbags are great in boats. But beanbag chairs, I think beanbag chairs are just boneless furniture. Did you guys see that show, Breaking Bad? Did you see that? I didn't watch a lot of it, but Walter White was this chemistry professor in high school and found out he had cancer and was going to die, but he needed chemo and all this kind of stuff, and he couldn't afford it. But as a chemistry professor, he knew how to cook meth. And so he started cooking meth to pay for his chemo. And, that started this whole show about how he got involved in all the drug trade and all the crazy stuff that goes with it. But it occurs to me that if Walter White had been an illegal alien, he wouldn't have needed to cook meth to cover his chemo bills. I'm just saying. You know how far away we are from the sun? 93 million miles. 93 million miles from the sun. So, on a sunny day, when you see your shadow is just confirmation that light has traveled 93 million miles unobstructed, only to be deprived of reaching the ground in the final few feet, thanks to you. What about a buzzkill for the moon and the sun? Matt, do you say cool? That's cool?
Sometimes. Sure.
I say it.
You do?
Yeah, I know I do. I say, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or, is that cool? Is that going to be cool with everybody? Okay, that's cool. It occurs to me that the first person to say the word cool must have been very cool, because everybody started saying it. Just choose the word. Man, that's the beach ball. Now, if I was really cool, there'd be people all over the country going to their family and saying, that's the beach ball. What does that mean? Oh, it means it's great. Oh, okay. And then next week, everybody all over the country goes, that's the beach ball. I'm just probably not that cool. Here's one thing I think. I don't have grandkids yet. Neither of our boys are even married. But one day, my grandkids are going to ask me about COVID because they're doing a history project. Now here's something really weird. And I admit, this is not unusual, this is not odd. This is kind of a weird thought to have. If a nuclear device is detonated, there are certain areas that like vaporize, certain things that vaporize. Then you get a little farther out and people get radiation poisoning and they may die within a week. And then you get a little farther out and there's enough radiation to make people get cancer 3 years from now. And then you get way further out and there's no effects. You didn't even hear it. But if a nuclear device is detonated, there is a certain distance from the epicenter of the explosion where all the frozen supermarket pizzas will be cooked to perfection. I'm thinking. I'm just thinking. Have you ever considered the fact that no one has ever been in a completely empty room? Margaret hopped. Well, you're a little late, but we were a little late. Thank you for sharing. Luis Case, Mato, crazy. Me? I'm crazy? Yeah, probably. One of my best buddies, Gordon Moat, is blind. And I was just thinking about him the other day, and he does Braille, has a machine that takes spoken word, turns it into Braille. He can talk it and it'll print Braille to a blind friend. I mean, it's just amazing. But, and I've put some Braille in front of him and he's just going, show me what I mean. But, and I haven't said this to him yet, but I would think that one of the scariest things to read in Braille must be the words, do not touch. Just thinking. So these are things I think. Hey, Joe, how are you doing? It's good talking to you this morning. Joe Parpala, up from, where are you? It's like in southern Canada. I know you call it Minnesota, but to me it's southern Canada. Big Fish Ministries, thrift shop, nuclear pizza. Yeah, baby, yeah. All right, here's number 25. We talked about this back there today when we were getting rid of some balloons. The first person to inhale helium. Who was that? Who was the first person to do that? You think there's a lot of firsts. Like the first person to drink milk. How did that happen? Somebody go and see that growth hanging under that cow? You squeeze it, I'll drink what comes out. Or the first person to eat an egg. Next thing comes out of that chicken's butt, I'm going to eat it. I mean, there's a lot of firsts. Who was the first person to eat an oyster? Why would you think you could crack a rock and there'd be something inside? But I think the first person to inhale helium had to be incredibly relieved that that wore off quickly. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Follow the yellow brick road. Okay, number 26. You ever wonder how you watch somebody and they've successfully done something for years and years and years and years and years, and then they screw it up, and you go, what? How could you screw that up? You've been doing it for years. I think biting your tongue is, while you're eating, is a perfect example of how you can do that. Been eating for years. Oh. Really? Are you that much of a moron? I mean, but how many times have I done that? Somebody said like starting a show on time. Who said that? Oh, you said it. Okay. I was fixing to say, these people are getting tough. Christy Woods is here, my sister. Okay, now this is a recent realization that I have come to. Adam and I talk about conspiracy theories all the time. We think it's pretty funny. And there are a lot of flat earthers out there. There are people who believe that the earth is flat. I'm telling you, the earth is not flat. And you can be assured the earth is not flat. Now, let me tell you how you know for sure. It's not because of space shots. It's not because of stuff from the moon. People think we fake that too. Here's how you know for sure the earth is not flat. Because if the earth was really flat, it would be a tourist attraction. The Disney company would own the edge and they'd be charging people to see it. That's how you know it's not flat. It's the same way you know Walt Disney, I mean, people are talking about, Walt Disney's frozen, cryogenics, and he's frozen. And, one day when they figure out how to reverse aging, he's going to come back. No, he's not. He's not cryogenically frozen. And you can know for sure that Walt Disney is not frozen, because if he was, the company would have figured out how to put him on display and they'd be charging people to see him. I mean, have you been to Disney World? Oh, can I have a bottle of water? $18? Yeah, no problem. Really? I mean, it's like $45 to park. That's not included. I mean, that's parking before you go in the place. $45 to park. Well, can we park somewhere else and be taken in? No. Go to the park, you got to park. Did you know, I mean, and don't tell me they didn't figure this. Do you know that the entire Disneyland will fit in the parking lot of Disney World? Don't tell me they didn't figure this out. Who told me that about the cat? Marcy Taylor said, you also know that, that the earth's not flat, because if it was, cats would have knocked everything off. Speaking of cats, let me ask you about dogs. You know how your dog will bring you the same toy over and over again? And when your dog brings you the same toy, everybody goes, oh, that's his favorite toy. That's his favorite. That's Rover's favorite toy. How do you know he just doesn't think it's your favorite toy? I think dogs are a source of great thought processes, because have you ever gone to another country and found yourself, I mean, this is awful to even say, but do you find yourself thinking a little less of people because they don't speak English? You know, and you go, I can't believe you can't speak English. Now, they can speak a little English, okay, but they're very halting, and it's like, I can't believe I can't speak English at all. And so we sometimes feel like we're superior because they can't speak English. But as my wife always points out, how much of their language can you speak? None. None. But they can speak their language and some of yours. So that means they're probably smarter than you are. Okay, so let me ask you this. How many people have a dog that knows 5 or 6 words? Sit, come, stay, off, out, car, food, eat. I mean, and your dogs know those words. How good are you at translating barks? So maybe, since we don't know any of the dog language, and the dog knows all their language and some of ours, maybe our dogs are a little bit smarter than we are. Here's something that I thought of over the weekend. We went to a couple of Memorial Day get-togethers. And I'm not old, but I'm older than I was when I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I hate to admit, but we would sneak out of our houses to go to parties. And now I'm at a phase in my life where I'm sneaking out of parties to go to my house. Okay, we're going to end with this. I'm going to lay this one on you. And we'll say goodbye until Thursday. Because this is the best I got. If someone from the distant past suddenly appeared today, what would be the most difficult thing to explain to them? The internet? Or how we settled on the 2 guys we got running for president of the United States? What do you think? Consider it. Bye-bye.